It has been 13 years since India had a census, and 3 years since this exercise was originally scheduled for. There's no official word yet on when this exercise will be held. 14 months ago, the Modi government formed a committee to review the existing data framework and iron out issues related to all surveys. The census delay also came up in their discussions. But when this delay was allegedly flagged, the government decided to disband the panel altogether. Hello and welcome, I am Shubham Chohan. Let's get started. A 14-member committee has been dismantled by the Union Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. As per a report in The Hindu, the government's move came after the panel allegedly questioned the delay in census. Called the Standing Committee on Statistics, this committee was led by former Chief Statistician Pronab Sen. This committee held about half a dozen meetings in the last 14 months. Now, the government in an email told the panel that the reason for dissolving it was that its work overlapped with another committee formed recently, and that's the Steering Committee for National Sample Surveys. However, Sen said he has no idea why the committee was dissolved. All he got was an email conveying the government's decision. A panel member quoted by The Hindu said anonymously that flagging the delay in census could be a reason for disbanding the panel. When Sen was asked about this, he told the Indian Express there was no recent discussion. All the members had earlier expressed concerns that in absence of censuses, both economic census and the census, household surveys are unreliable. This was discussed earlier in the meetings. The Congress party on Sunday criticized the government's decision to delay the census exercise. Now here's a quick primer on the census and all that has happened so far. The census is basically this huge data bank that compiles demographic, economic and social data of the country at a particular point of time. It's a vast exercise that takes months and requires lakhs of personnel to go to each house and collect this data. This data is collected in two phases. The first phase is the housing census, where data on housing conditions, household amenities, and assets possessed by households are collected. And the second phase is where data on population, education, religion, economic activity, scheduled castes and tribes, language, literacy, migration, and fertility are collected. The census is crucial for the government to help frame policies and even serves as the basis for a lot of other surveys that rely on the census for basic data. So latest figures are necessary. The first such census was conducted in 1881. Since then, India has conducted a census every 10 years. The last one was conducted in 2011. The next one was supposed to be held in 2021. But the government did not conduct it. It cited the COVID pandemic as the reason at that time. And since then, the government has kicked the can down the road 4 times. Notably, while COVID has eased, other things that are known to be mass spreaders of the virus have happened, like elections. But the census has not happened. Many have speculated political reasons for the BJP to not conduct a census, because a recent data set could possibly bust a lot of myths the BJP has been accused of propagating, like disproportionate growth of Muslims, for instance. A report by Reuters in August, quoting officials, said the census will begin in September, but so far there is no official word. Even in other countries like the US and UK, the census was delayed due to COVID, but it did take place once life came back to normal. As per a study by The Hindu, 143 countries have done their census after March 2020. India is only the second country to have not conducted one, with the other country being Nigeria. So what does the delay really mean? A delay in census means the list of people which the government wants for a government scheme, for instance, will be affected. According to economists John Reyes and Ritika Khera, over 10 crore people have been excluded from the public distribution system because outdated 2011 census data is being used to calculate state-wise National Food Security Act coverage. A delayed census also affects, like I said earlier, other surveys that rely on the census, like the National Family Health Survey that rely on the census for certain basic figures about our population, for instance. In fact, members of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council too had flagged the ramifications of a delayed census. In an article for the Indian Express, Shamika Ravi questioned the data quality as well of surveys. Here's an excerpt of what Ravi said. These surveys use outdated sampling frames and hence are not representative. In fact, the survey mechanisms are archaic and not adapted for rapid changes. As a consequence, these surveys grossly and systematically underestimate India's progress and development, and misleading estimates from these surveys impede policy making. Framing policies based on these estimates are unlikely to yield the desired results, and we will continue to see a gap between ground realities and survey estimates. Net, a census is important. Now let's broaden the discussion a bit. India's statistical system under the Modi government has seen three broad phenomena. 1. Incomplete data. 2. No data at all. And even for the government surveys, the few official government surveys that do manage to come out, experts have raised several questions over its authenticity and the methodology. Now remember, these are key surveys or data points that are necessary for effective policy implementation, say on jobs or the lack of it, GST collection, and even our population. Except for the census, there are other instances where the government has come under fire for its lack of transparency. In July this year, the Finance Ministry discontinued putting detailed GST collection data on day one of every month. This practice was in place for 74 months straight. No reason has been given for discontinuing this. In 2017-18, the findings of the periodic labor force survey were not made public until after the 2019 elections. India Spend looked at 35 parliamentary questions between 2015 and 2023. For 17, or almost 50% of these questions, the government had a straight response. No such data is maintained. For a country of India's size, quality data sets were among the things post-independence what it prided itself upon. Post-2014, it is that credibility that is taking a hit. Dismissing a panel led by Sen is only a recent addition to that list. Many have pointed that this is symptomatic of a larger problem under the Modi government that is not looking at the actual problem but going after those flagging it. And also the fact as to how domain experts who flag these concerns to the government are treated. A delayed census is definitely one of the concerns. As the saying goes, numbers don't lie. And it is possibly this truth that the government may not want to face. To end in the words of Dr. Sen himself, when data gets suppressed and then gets leaked, that happened over the last 1 year, the government's reaction has been to actually demonize the data. That's been the reaction. That's all we have for this report. Thank you so much for watching and subscribe to HW News English for more such videos.
Stay ahead with our cutting edge news app. Instantly access the latest shorts in just 1 minute and breaking news in just 50 words. Download now for a smarter, faster news experience.